Governor Umo Eno of Akwa Ibom State is closing in on actualizing his remote defection plans. He says he does not know his next political platform, but promised to remain a governor connected to the people, regardless of his future political party. Mr. Eno stated this on Sunday at a Thanksgiving service organized in his honor at the Apostolic Church Mabuju Assembly in Lagos State. He however said his statement does not mean he was going anywhere. I don't know where I'll be tomorrow, he said, whether PDP, APC or YPP. These are just for political convenience and enlightened state interests, but it will never define who I am. The question is, at what point should the line be drawn between national interest and the party interest, constituency interests versus party interest and personal ambition versus the others? Party loyalty versus national interest is our focus this time around, and it's on Politicals on Signature Evening, where we will be speaking with a socio-political commentator, OKECHUKWU, EDENKWO, who is standing by on Zoom. Good evening, OKECHUKWU. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here on Signature TV for the first time.
Right away, OKECHUKWU, how do you differentiate between party loyalty and national interest, given the intro you just heard about the governor of Akwa Ibom State, who said that wherever he is, he will still be connected to the people who are his primary who are all his primary assignment?
Well, for me, party politics or party interest first is driven by personal interest, and it's quite unfortunate that a lot of people are in parties where they don't even know the party manifestos. By rights, party interest is supposed to be based on party manifestos, but how many people that joins political parties today that knows the party manifesto? Otherwise, if you look at it very well, party interests, it's one thing that is very paramount. Party is a vehicle, and the vehicle takes you to your destination. So if at every point in time you feel you are in a wrong vehicle, according to Nigerian factor, you can also disembark and board the right vehicle that will take you to your destination. However, national interest is one thing that is quite missing in politics in Nigeria. And in as much as national interest is missing, that's one area where our politicians and the political class are always getting it wrong.
Mr. OKECHUKWU, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Okay, being that this Moino had made this statement publicly endorsing the president, do you feel that this is in order in favor of, or rather for the sake of the 2027 election that is still coming up?
I think it's a question of give and take. Umo Ino is driven by personal interest. Don't forget, by 2027, he has his second tenure election. So I think what he's doing is just a kind of bargaining, so that at the end of the day, come 2027, he's going to have a soft landing. Do not also forget that the APC is making a massive inroad into the South. And for me, Umo Ino doesn't want to be caught in the web. He wants a situation where he will have a very soft and fair landing come 2027. And by so doing, he thinks is by endorsing Mr. President for 2027, so that it will become a case of quid pro quo, like the Italians will always say, which is give and take.
Still on the subject matter, is it possible that party loyalty and national interest can align at some point?
Well, it depends on the perspective which you're looking at it from. Party politics and national interest, the only unifying factor between party politics interest and national interest is personal interest. So once that personal interest comes to bear, if you look at it, you weigh it on on a basis of 1:10 or pro and con, then that's what is really driving the interests of the political class and the governors at this point in time. Otherwise, mere looking at it, national interest is supposed to be different from party interest. But in Nigeria, because of the second tenure syndrome and also seeing how they can put in a successor, it's only making them align with national interests.
Okay, what would you say are some of the dangers of prioritizing personal interests in this case?
Well, dangers of prioritizing personal interests for me as a person, if it were to be in Senate climb where power belongs to the people, I don't see any reason why personal interests shouldn't come to bear. But because we know the Nigerian factor, where elections and electioneering is something that one has to be very careful. So that's what's really driving the political class and the political office holders at this point.
Okay, having said that, at what point should the line be drawn between national interest and party loyalty? Because from the ongoing conversation, it is normal, it's actually right to have loyalty to your party, which is the platform, some sort of vehicle where you run. But you also should have national interest. So at what point should politicians move from the point of party loyalty to national interest?
It's from the onset. It's something that you make a very clear-cut decision and set the record straight, know when and where to do. But I strongly believe that it ought to be from the onset, not midway, because you don't change the rule of the play of the game in the middle of the play.
Okay, it is rather obvious that Akwa Ibom State is a PDP dominated state, and the party of the current president is that of the APC. So if Umoino has a way of endorsing the current president of against the 2027 election, won't that sort of bring in a misconception? I mean, within the party.
Of course, it's already bringing a serious misconception within the party. If it were to be when things were right, that's real anti-party activity. Election have not started. You don't know if your party is fielding a presidential candidate. So going ahead to endorse the presidential candidate of another party, there's nothing more than that. That's pure anti-party activity.
Right, going ahead, can you provide, okay, let me not just ask you for concrete examples, but looking at our political space, do you think that the loyalty that the individual politicians show to their party supersedes that of the nation? Because we have seen bickerings, we have seen intra-party squabbles, and all we get to hear all the time is that it is for the interest of the nation. What's your own opinion on this?
For me, national interest has not really come to bear. What has really been driving our political class is personal interest and party interests. So if they say they have the interest of the nation at heart, there are certain things which they ought not to do from the beginning.
Okay, Chukwu, what role exactly should lawmakers play when their party's stance contradicts the public good?
For me, I think everything has to take its root from the Constitution. And you know what drives democracy, what should be the natural check for democracy should be the Constitution. And once the Constitution is there, certain decisions should be challenged at the court of competent jurisdiction. And not until that is done, we will keep groping in the dark. So it's not about the National Assembly. It has to be from the Constitution. So there are certain items, certain things that needs to be infused in the Constitution so that at the end of the day, every person that tries to jump ship from one political party or the other, you know the repercussion.
In all of this, have we had party members, loyal party members, who are so rigid that outside the things that will favor the party, they do not pay a mind to national interest?
Of course, national interest is what is missing. It's driven by selfish interests and maybe what the parties, but the most important thing that's really been a watchword, or what has been their mantra, so to say, is personal interest. And that's why we are where we are today. They've not really taken national interest to heart. If they take national interest to heart, some of their decisions, they won't take it.
Okay, Mr. Okechukwu, in your own perspective, do you really think that public officials should actually be held accountable when party interests actually override the welfare of the people?
Of course, it is my strong belief. I am a proponent of it. Not until that is done, we will still be where we are.
But for you, in your own opinion, do you
Yes,
think that because party is all about um, principles, I think it is the
for me,
principles that differentiate one party from another. All of them built on the interest of of the nation, supposedly. But do you also think that it should somehow, or that we have in the past produced politicians who are rigid with their stance on their party principles as against how it will affect the nation? For instance, in the current dispensation, I know that every well-meaning Nigerian, in quote, especially those ones who are knowledgeable about these things, are up for the removal of oil subsidy. But I think they all disagree at the point of the way and manner it is carried out. So, are you saying that when it comes to party loyalty, and one party is huge on taking it at another angle, and it is not to the best interest of the nation, but this particular person who has ascended the position of administration in the country or in the state, as the case may be, but has to follow verbatim the principle of his party as against national interest? Are you saying that he should always think of his party against, and at this point that there's nothing wrong with it?
national interest is one thing that should come first. Because even in Senate climes, they say when conflicts, national interest and party interest conflicts, national interest supersede, and national interest ought to supersede even personal and party interest. In Nigeria, the reverse is the case. It's driven by personal interest and maybe secondly party
Okay, how
interest
does
before
strong
you talk of
party loyalty
national
contribute to
interest.
corruption, to nepotism within political systems? We have seen appointments appearing like nepotism infested. Is it still a product, a consequence of party agreements, party loyalty, and or whatnot?
Yes, if you look at it very well holistically, most of these things are not really done out of competence, except now where we have a performing minister of the Federal Capital Territory who is not even a member of the ruling APC, but he was brought into the cabinet of Mr. President, and he has done creditably well. This is even beyond party politics. This is where a case of national interest has come to play. Otherwise, most of these things, it's always been party, party, party. But, and if you look at party first above national interest, it gives room for mediocrity and mediocres to be part of the system.
Now that you have mentioned it, do you consider bipartisan cooperation a positive trait? Are there instances where someone who belongs to one party but is serving on the government of another party has pulled it off successfully without any form of bias?
Of course, it's happening right here. Even during Obasanjo's regime, late Bola Ige of blessed memory, he was not a PDP member. He was from AD, and he held the position of the Minister of Justice, and he did it until his death. So that's the kind of strategic collaboration we're looking about across board and across party, beyond party politics. If anyone is competent, if anyone has what it takes to hold such position, it should be beyond party.
Okay, let's bring it home to us, our own job. How does media portrayal of political parties impact negatively or otherwise public perception of party loyalty? Do you think that the role of the media exacerbates divisions in all of this?
It's quite unfortunate. It's gradually creeping into the fabric of the nation. If you look at it, the media has been polarized along party line, while some are for party A, while some are for party B. Even in some of the media stations, which I may not want to call names for purpose of advert, but they seem to be antagonizing certain political parties or certain politicians. And it's quite unfortunate. Even here I come from, it has crept into the church, the body of Christ, where you see some pastors who are pro politician A and pro politician B. It's unfortunate. That's where we find ourselves.
So, what responsibility do you think the citizens should have, to hold their representatives accountable for national interest over party loyalty?
Not until we have credible election. Once we have credible election, that's the only way where we can hold our politicians. That's the only way they can be accountable to us. Because if you refuse or if you fail to perform creditably well, after 4 years, they are waiting for you at the poll to definitely take its course. Not until we have that credible election and reformed electoral system, power will not return to the people.
Okay, back to the media rule that we talked about. Can that really be addressed? Being the forefront of government, do you think that there's a way that all of these things can be rejigged and the media will begin to play the proper role expected?
Of course, very possible. There should be a reorientation. There should be some sanitization. And any person that is caught in the act, there should be some form of penalty and discipline. Once there's discipline, people will definitely sit up. But where there's no rule and order, lawlessness becomes the order of the day. So if there are cases where people are disciplined, erring ones especially, others will definitely sit up, and it will no longer become the order of the day, and it's not going to be business as usual.
With evolving political landscapes, and if you are looking at it, if you're looking at it from a particular angle, the rise of populism, how can politicians ensure that they do not sacrifice long-term national interest for short-term party loyalty?
It's as simple as ABC. Go in there, do what you're sent to do, listen to your people, do what they are. In fact, just listen to your people, and then whatever you attract, it has to be in the overall interest of the people and not personal interests. That's the only way you can guarantee that. Because in democracy, power actually belongs to the people.
All right, thank you very much, OKECHUKWU EDENKWO, for joining us on this discourse. We'll observe a short break. When we return, we will continue definitely.
Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.